Hotel room sold.
I have to. Do you guys know how to call the front desk?
No, what are you gonna need?
I need a plunger.
I don't know, like clogging the toilet.
I will okay. Out of all the places to clog a toilet, you wouldn't think it would be here.
No,
you know,
no.
Do they take big duties or not? In the American South.
You'd think. I see. This is Atlanta, though. Yeah. This is like the sophisticated, cosmopolitan southern city. If we were in, say, Mobile, Alabama,
okay, yeah,
the throat of a toilet anywhere in Mississippi or Alabama is like the size of a trash can.
It's like the Holland Tunnel.
Yeah, they gotta give you a lot of space.
It's gonna take doo-doos of all sizes.
All right. Well, figured it out after this. Anyway, so there's war in Europe. First time in 25 years.
Yeah, it's popping off, guys.
Yeah, history
keeps happening.
History seems to keep happening, and it's happening more and more.
The most important part about it, though, and the thing that we can't forget, is that we were wrong about Putin invading, and that's the real tragedy, is that we got owned.
I'm glad we didn't completely commit to it, but yeah, holy shit, the dumbest move he could have made. Adding probably at least 15 years of zombie consensus to NATO, making everyone love Zell Disney, just a huge fuck up, massive. When it was oh, he's just going into DPR, it was the only people who are going to talk about that and get mad about it are, people who have had 9 unpaid internships at different think tanks, and they'll do a sanction that doesn't really mean anything and it'll be done.
Yep.
But oh boy, did he step in it.
He decided to be legends. He decided to say, what's the point of having this stupid army that we've been spending all this money on if we're not going to do something with it?
You guys should check out. I'm working on a piece for the Atlantic Council. It's called Putin in Goblin Mode for real. No, yeah, I mean it's
he took his breakup with Kanye pretty hard, so it's understandable.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's it's they're shelling Kiev right now. They're hitting it with missiles. The whole fucking country is.
I'm seeing online. It looks like a lot of those the Fopo goblins are trying to pull up Benghazi now. They're saying there's a column headed towards Kiev. What are we gonna do? This is the time. We have to do something. We have to do something.
Right. They're hoping that people will sign on to a no-fly zone. One of the most brilliantly named things in the history of the evil American foreign policy consensus. I mean, people who know what this is know this would basically mean a full-out hot war between the United States and Russia.
I mean, it would mean that we would be on the hook for any escalation that happens after that.
What are you talking about? It's just a zone that
you can't fly in it.
You're declaring a zone. What does that have to do with fighting?
He can still take cars. He can still trains.
You just say, yo, you can't fly there. Then they're like, oh, my bad.
That's what it means. Yeah.
It's like the door you can't go into the airport. You're like, hey, that's a no walk zone. You're like, oh, sorry.
Employees only.
Yeah. I don't understand what the big deal is.
But I mean, joke's on us because they got what they wanted. This is exactly what they wanted. Oh my God.
Slathering. Oh God. Yeah. Everyone is very
it's just
happy.
Look, I mean, for people in Ukraine, having their country invaded by Russia, and this is there's no justification for this at all. I mean, this is just, I mean, it is very cheeky of Putin to say, we must denazify Ukraine. I mean, you know how many fucking Nazis there are in Russia?
Well, I mean, I love that because it's they have a version of we're protecting women's rights in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Everyone has something like that.
But I mean, I guess it's the foreign policy, the foreign policy goals. They're loving this, but because they've been saying for years it's not a good thing if America isn't a hegemon anymore. But I mean, this history is happening, and it does seem to be this crack up of a unipolar world, and what that really means is that other countries not America can do the shit that we've been doing.
Yeah, this really does feel to me like the Iraq War, and the reason I thought that it wasn't going to happen is just because I was still under the idiotic the delusion that we're still in a space where everyone understands that only America gets to act like that, that the whole point of the post-Soviet world order is that America is the country that gets to exercise unilateral military discretion. Everyone else has to triangulate off of what they will allow. And what we're seeing is that, it might look one way when you're just inside your American bubble, but outside of it, people are making different conclusions, and they're going like, look, I honestly think like for a lot of these countries like Putin and Russia and everywhere else, increasingly like things get worse, conditions deteriorate, holds on power become more perilous, and the rationale changes, and you get to a point where in your own mind, or like in the minds of your top leaders or advisors, it's more dangerous to keep obeying Washington than to try to break out and see what you can do, and basically try to call the bluffs, and also find out just how resilient you are, more than anything, to the financial blowback that is going to come from it.
Yeah,
because that's the real.
Yeah,
weapon
okay, so like
America
that has
has.
been that
Did
has
they
been
cut
very
them off from the
interesting.
SWIFT banking system?
They cut off some Russian banks from the SWIFT from the SWIFT like intercontinental payment system, but they have to keep some on because Europeans still have to pay for their gas.
Right.
What is interesting, and right now it looks like, oh my God, this is the worst possible thing they could have done, because in this moment, abso-fucking-lutely, this is the dumbest fucking thing they could have done. At the same time, in 2012, it looked like, how the fuck is Assad going to hold on?
Right.
5 years from now, maybe there's like a successful transition. It would take like a generation to transition away from like the use of the US dollar internationally, probably 40, 50 years maybe. But if this causes something where China and Russia are like less dependent on US dollars, I mean, Russia fucking has to be now.
Yeah.
But it causes something throughout the world where people are like, oh, they can just totally shut you out this way. But I mean, it's way easier said than done, and that'll be interesting to see in the next decade.
Another thing in terms of like the economic price that's going to be enacted on Russia. I saw just something before we start recording today, is that Swiss banks have cut off Russian citizens from like I don't know if they
That's
froze their
rough for
accounts,
them.
but like they're cutting off all banking to Russia right now, and like that's that's everyone's favorite place.
What are you
to park
supposed to
their
do after you
ill-gotten-
loot the
Yeah.
country?
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of like, it's almost impossible to tell, at least from my perspective, because like, and I'm not an expert, but like certainly following the news or following things on Twitter, like what's actually going on in Ukraine, and like how successful or how bogged down like Russia may be. I mean, like there's all these videos of like basically teenage Russian soldiers who were just lost in the Ukrainian countryside, just being told like, "Go home, asshole!" Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck are you doing here? But I mean, like, seems like they made like a very rapid advancement. Now there's some speculation about whether they're being bogged down or not. And we were talking about this last night. Felix, you said like, look, I don't know if it's going like good or bad for the Ukrainians who are resisting this invasion, but like it does seem weird that we've already seen like 2 or 3 major just straight up lies about like just straight up like the ghost of Kiev. The
Yeah.
Snake Island incident. It seems like there's a lot of like, because obviously like the whole media is rooting for Ukraine and Zelensky, and it's sort of like, I mean, how could you blame them in this situation like this? But I mean, there does seem to be like a lot of like there's a lot of sustained efforts to like keep morale up, and people getting very angry when like those narratives come into question.
It is pretty wild how this is a full blanketed the first European war in the social media era, and somehow that makes it absolutely impossible to figure out what the fuck is going on.
No, yeah. I mean, MGS too. It is the deluge of too much information.
Yeah.
That will confuse you rather than censorship.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I feel like in the first 2 weeks of a war, especially, you cannot really evince anything just from being on Twitter or Telegram or fucking anything.
I have no fucking idea.
I
what's
could not
happening.
tell you. I could not tell you. I could tell you that it's probably not an amazing sign when they're letting prisoners out if they have military experience and giving everyone guns, and I don't think that leads
Seems
to
sort of
anything
like a last
great in the
ditch
long
type
run.
move, yeah.
But again, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm just another asshole on my phone.
Yeah, we're absolutely just some assholes out here.
Right. We don't know, and we didn't think this would happen. So what did we know?
Yeah, exactly.
But-
like we're at the moment. It seems like like Trump was the real like opening of the seal, where something is on the horizon, something is like a possibility, but you just assume things work a certain way, and you're not going to be disabused of it until something just breaks through that perimeter, and you couldn't really have been asked to expect to assimilate like the real possibility of it, just because from your vantage point, it seemed like things had to be much more rotten than they appeared as, relatively comfortable Americans. And it turns out at every level, you put a little pressure on, and all of the struts just snap like fucking toothpicks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Maybe Putin. Everyone yelled at this woman, but I thought this was as good a theory as any, that Putin has long COVID or has convinced himself he has long COVID.
Honestly, if he has long COVID, or yes, he's like got some yellow wallpaper situation, just living in the Kremlin alone and like talking to guys across 500-foot-long tables.
Yeah.
And he's like just going nuts, and he presses the button, and we get nuked. COVID doomsayers vindicated.
Yeah, Eric Fingelding.
And Fingelding,
you're the
anybody who's been yelling about pandemics for the last 2 years, everyone's been yelling at us for going on tour. Correct. You're right. COVID ended up being a huge deal.
Yeah, Dr. Fingelding, we hope that you are the Lord Humongous of the new future.
He's going to enforce COVID zero by any means necessary.
Yeah. I love Putin being a personal COVID scold is so funny.
Yeah.
It's just, they're coming into our country to make us gay, and if you don't wear 2 N95s, you're killing people. It's the guy we've been looking for, the prince that was promised.
Yeah, that's why he invaded Ukraine. Their mask regimens and vaccination rates were too low.
That was, oh man, yeah. There's some really good posts about that too. But yeah, no, it is. We should have learned our lesson from 2016.
Yeah.
That the impossible will happen,
Yeah.
and you will be left holding your dick.
Yeah, I mean, my main reason to have resisted the claims that Russia was going to invade, one, I assumed, that like Putin was a rational actor, and because it seemed like a very reckless and bad idea to do. But once again, who knows how fucking bad it is in Russia? Who knows how barely held together his coalition of oligarchs is? He very well could be acting what he thinks of as an irrational way.
A lot of guys are snaking him.
Yeah,
people are making cryptic posts. They're sort of subbing each other.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite guy, Oleg Derpina, is speaking out. Who knows the internal calculus that went into this? It's something we cannot see.
But the reason I thought he wouldn't do it is because the fucking government kept telling me he would.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to fucking believe you, because if it doesn't happen, then I look like a fucking douchebag.
Right.
I would rather be wrong not believing you than look like I'm eating a bird seed out of your palm.
Right.
I mean, yeah, like it's usually, like, all things being equal, betting against what the U.S. State Department is telling you, they're just choosing the exact opposite. You rarely go wrong with that.
Let's not forget they told us that a microwave gun gave them
that was their last big push. It's like Putin is going to invade Ukraine. Also, he's cooking our organs with long distance microwaves.
Yeah, come on now.
He's giving us tactical stomach aches.
What if that turned out to be completely true?
Well, you know what? Like, I wouldn't feel bad about that, because like being that wrong about something like that, because I've said, like, I hope it's true.
Yeah, no,
like, that's my. I wasn't hoping that Russia was going to invade Ukraine. I do hope that the microwave weapon is true, and that they are giving State Department spooks headaches.
I mean, it does make you wonder, if they do have it, why aren't they deploying it in Ukraine? Like, why aren't they circling Kiev with it, and then like doing like the brown note and making everybody shit their pants with simultaneous microwaves? So maybe they are. Who knows?
It seems like in the first 2 days, this caught everyone sort of off balance, and off balance both in like what the push in Western media would be, but also for China, because right when this happened, China was kind of like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
are you serious? Are you serious?" And now things are coalescing. The Chinese media is more now like, hey, they have to do this. This is like, this is what it is.
No, I mean, if you're China, you want to protect a country like Russia's ability to exercise its own discretion in this kind of way, so that you can do that too.
Right.
Because like the alternative really is like the alternative that the offer that the West had to Russia really was, we're just going to suffocate you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, and then with that on the table, then why wouldn't you eventually just flip it over?
Right. And it's completely irresponsible to talk about this without talking about both the 90s and eastward NATO expansion.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, it's irresponsible to talk about those things now because now is not. Look, we can all delineate like exactly what role like America and NATO has played in all this, but not now. Not now.
Not when the consequences of those actions are coming in.
Right. Yeah.
There are so many things like just observing the news right now. Like, and I've largely been mostly trying to avoid it because there are so many things that are just, I think, intentionally designed to drive you insane. Like, for instance, Condoleezza Rice on Fox News today saying, "Look, when you invade a sovereign country, that's a war crime."
Yeah.
Oh, really, Condi? Thanks for
real?
that. And it just, we talked a little bit about the show last night, but it's just like the brigades of fucking like amateur fucking war wonks who are fucking all like chiming in with their fucking suggestions on how to do guerrilla war against like a Russian army.